Hello guys and welcome back to the Base Bros. Today we are giving you guys our thoughts on Barotrauma, the indie 2D survival horror and action game made by Fake Fish and Undertow Games.
This review is well overdue and for good reason. Well, we've been lazy and employed.
Outside of our gooning, gaming, and wage groveling, it took us many hours to complete one full, proper playthrough of Barotrauma's campaign.
About 70 hours to be specific, and in that time we feel we've seen and experienced enough to feel confident in giving you guys a full and comprehensive review on the game about being extraterrestrially submerged.
Within the plethora of Flavor of the Month garbage that is consistently spewed out by the indie games market with their gimmicky one-offs and to which provided 15 minutes of fame, Barotrauma seemed like it was doomed to follow the same path set by the rest of the indie market, or at least at a glance it seemed like that. However, that's not the case.
With the launch of the 1.0 update not but half a year ago, Barotrauma stands the test of modern-day gaming as a truly fun and adventurous cooperative experience. Probably one of the best in the past 5 years.
This game is primarily a co-op game, and if you don't have friends, you should probably fix that first. You sad, lonely bastard. But once that's done, grab some copies and go experience the depths of Europa. We would also like to add that before you watch this review, to go out and try the game for yourselves. It already has a Base Bros seal of approval, but if you're not sold yet, continue watching.
Much of the appeal of this game is experiencing it for the first time, and in turn, being able to experience the wonder of this beautifully crafted world as well as its extensive and fun mechanics. We do not want to enable the modern trend of people just watching games instead of actually playing them.
So let's put on our diving suits and get ready to descend into the abyss and figure out the mystery of the eye in Barotrauma.
Let's change things up, and since we have so much good stuff that we want to spurg about in Barotrauma, we'll start with the bad for once. Do we start with the bad usually? No.
No.
I don't know. No, okay.
I think this first time we're changing things up. Don't worry.
Okay.
This'll be quick because we only have a few gripes. Firstly, that friend thing we mentioned is not only due to the fact that playing with buddies always makes games more fun, but because the crew bots in Barotrauma are very lacking, the AI bots. And while if you have a crew made up mostly or entirely of real souled players, this won't be a problem. But trying to manage a crew of TI-84s can be quite infuriating due to AI madness and causes you to lose out on a lot of what this game has to offer when playing with other real players.
Barotrauma also offers multiple factions vying for power and control under the ice of Jupiter's moon, Europa. And while there's just enough flavor text to get you immersed and intrigued in the world, it still leaves room for mystery and imagination. The one thing to note is, it's nowhere near the RPG extent of Mr. Howard and his rusty cap games. So don't go in expecting faction-specific plotlines or world-changing events. Even the high-affinity faction bonuses given are quite minor, with only a handful of special items, slightly better prices for bartering, and one special bot crew member. Not to say we are dissatisfied with what the game currently has, just a note and disclaimer for those that are curious and want a more RPG-focused experience in the game.
Another gripe we had is that during the end of our playthrough, there was a massive spike in difficulty during the final fight, which we won't spoil. The missions leading up are amazing and tense and almost give a solid conclusion to your epic journey, only for your crew to be almost instantly vaporized within moments of starting the final fight. The current mission is much better than the pre-release fight, but is now a test of game mastery and perseverance that we lost and then modded our sub to spam fire railgun rounds. That way we wouldn't get fired at our jobs for staying up till 4 AM to beat the game. This isn't due to us being bad at games, but rather the immense and absurd difficulty of the final level that is leagues harder than anything seen in the game prior.
One last disclaimer/note is that we attempted to play the game with Jovian radiation, but turned it off due to it not being fun for a first playthrough. We don't know if it's critical to quote-unquote beating the game the way it's meant to be beaten, but put in a dumb mechanic we can turn off and we will turn it off. Don't make the mistake we did and trust us when we say it. Keep it off for your first run.
So now let's get into the positives, which there are far more of. Behind an initially difficult learning curve lies a vast ocean of fun and adventure. The gist is to complete various missions between underwater outposts and cities within a procedurally generated world with branching linear pathways and sectioned biomes, all the while piloting a two-dimensional cross-section of a nuclear-powered sub. There are 6 roles to choose from: the captain, medic, engineer, mechanic, assistant, and security officer. Each role comes with an affinity and proficiency to specific duties around the sub, of which they do better than other roles. All roles possess their own branching skill trees with creative and helpful abilities, perks, and crafting blueprints that can be earned by leveling up along your journey throughout the deep depths of Europa. All of which will further increase the chance of success on your missions and the survivability of the sub and its crew.
Your main obstacles will be the hostile NPCs, environmental hazards, and menageries worth of European fauna. From the smallest crawler to the awe-inspiring endworm, the creatures of Europa want nothing more than to tear your sub to pieces. And while you try to fight electric rocks, spore clouds, ice spires, and schizophrenia-inducing crystals will make you and your friends scream in terror and rage as you try to navigate the depths. When you aren't continually violated and accosted by space critters, your less than politically agreeable fellow man will be more than eager to utilize munitions and arms, not sanctioned by the Geneva Conventions, on you and your crew due to the differing European quote-unquote civic and political views.
But don't worry, you and your crew will have access to a large arsenal of ship-mounted turrets, personal small arms, and various ammunition to turn the tides from survival horror to survival action. You'll be going from alien to aliens, blasting those putrid, ungodly creatures back to space hell. Combat in this game, just like everything else, will take time to learn, as it's a little clunky and quappish at first.
Person to person to creature, and person to clown combat revolves around aiming for the head or weak spot of its creature and praying to Yahweh that the projectile hits. Anything from standard man-made firearms to mysterious tech gadgets and even more powerful handheld life violators can be used to liberate the scum of Europa from their pathetic lives.
Anything from pulse lasers, chain guns, rail guns, coil guns, and depth charges can be used to annihilate any foe in your sub's path.
And while the cacophony of battle goes on all around or inside the sub, the good old medic, mechanic, and engineer will risk their union salary to keep you and the internals of the sub running. From repairing the power grid to keeping the hole from being split open by the massive pregnant gut brother of the broodmother crawler. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Uh-huh. The missions are creative, fun, and engaging. From the more tame and calming cargo and personnel transport missions to the technical beacon station repair tasks to the testosterone-fueled abyss creature or pirate hunting missions and much, much more. Outside of missions, you can find deposits of ore and the mission pathways randomly scattered along the way, as well as various other hazards that we won't spoil. Short and to the point, there's never a lack of objectives to do in Barotrauma.
The fun doesn't end with the campaign mode either. Players can do one mission runs that start and end in one sitting, with the option of adding mystery harlequin traders among your crew, giving survival horror a pseudo Trouble in Terrorist Town twist. And of course, a PvP mode for those who like to drink their own ball sweat.
And for those who are not satisfied with the subs and creatures in the game, the editor allows for players to create completely custom or just modified submarines and entities to their heart's content, with learning the submarine editor being an entire beast of its own. And one more thing to mention is the soundtrack, a perfectly fitting collection of tracks that captures the essence and soul of Barotrauma that is far from forgettable.
Barotrauma has really good ambient sounds as well, and the music comes in at the right times, and it's never obnoxious or blaring at you in the ears. With that said, we don't have much more to say about Barotrauma, that we wouldn't be spoiling the experience for you guys. So what are you waiting for? Grab some buddies and a handful of copies and start your journey. And if you're not sold yet, then go back to League of Legends, you piece of shit.
Take it easy.
And keep on gaming.